good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I am Damanda Sahu. I have joined with my CTO, Lee Lokan, and Pradipta Misra, our Chief Architect. This is our first LinkedIn Live. We at Data Safeguard are the future of data privacy and synthetic fraud prevention company. We are making our product like ID Redact, ID Mask, and many more products line up, all related to data privacy and synthetic fraud prevention powered by AI. Our flagship product, ID Redact, is actually enable you to do your PII, PHI data redaction on real time. So today we will be talking about secure CRT. Let me invite Lee, our CTO, to talk about secure CRT.
Great. Thanks, Damo. Thanks for having us today. So, a few things I wanted to talk about before I hand over to Pradeep this morning. So, as everybody is aware, our ID Redact product, we have three different pipelines to support redaction for our clients. So, one is real time, which we'll talk a little bit more about today. Another is what we call historical data, where we're able to plug into any database, data warehouse, data lake, any data source you can imagine. And then the third one is individual files. So our focus today will be on real time. So in the real time space, we've got several different solution sets that we're providing. So one is around email, which we'll talk about in another session at some point. But today we're really going to focus on is logs. So whether these are web logs, audit logs coming from any different source, different applications as they're processing data, they have to log all the different actions that they're doing. And so as a part of that, they have to then store those logs. And those logs have tremendous amounts of PII or PHI, again, depending on the industry. So what we've done is we have a solution set that plugs into these logs in a real-time manner, is able to redact them. So today we're going to talk a little bit about SecureCRT, which is one of those mechanisms that clients have their employees access those logs. So I'm going to hand over to Pradeep and have him talk a little bit about what SecureCRT is and what our solution is for real-time redaction for logs. Thank you,
Yeah,
Pradeep.
thank you, Lee, for the introduction. So secure CRT is typically a terminal which people use. When I say people, it's the developers. So they access the logs information through a terminal and they write a query, and typically they see the query results. So what happens in large organizations or enterprises? The logs are getting stored in a centralized repository. So it could be their own enterprise databases, or it could be tools like MongoDB or Splunk or any other tools which typically stores the logs information. So when the data is getting stored in the log format, so it's either a flat file or it's a JSON structure, it's typically getting stored within the enterprise. Now what happens if there is an incident and a developer is investigating the incident, and they are trying to query the log file to see what was there, what information was there. So what happens sometimes, the sensitive information or PII information, is getting exposed to the developers. Now that's a problem. So the within the organization, within the enterprise, when the developers are accessing the logs information, accidentally they are exposing, or accidentally they are seeing the PI and sensitive information. There is a need to redact the information. There is a need to implement redaction on the fly. Now that's the typical use case I'm going to talk about here. So in order to ensure data privacy, or in order to impose data privacy compliance, or to be compliant with the GDPR norms or any other standard compliance norms, none of the PII and sensitive data or sensitive information should be exposed to the developers. Because if they have access to this kind of information, that could be a violation of the GDPR or any CCP or any kind of privacy compliance related regulatory. So, I mean, it would be considered as a violation. So, now, how we are going to implement this? So typically what happens when you write a query, the query is getting executed on the logs file. Now that logs file, again, the global logs file should be available for search. That's where the developers can do a search. And when the search result is getting written back to the terminal, Now that's where you need to do redaction. So how we are solving this use case, basically, we would be implementing, let's take an API, and this API should be called in real time. Then the real time redaction happens on a fly. So that's the use case, and it would help many enterprises, not only like few enterprises who have logs. There are enterprises where the data is getting stored in unstructured format as well. Sometimes the system logs, sometimes application logs, sometimes interaction logs, sometimes DevOps logs, sometimes any internal communications. So anything that is getting stored in the logs or log formats, wherever it is within the organization, right? So, and the usage is through a secure CRT terminal, or there are multiple other terminals as well. And secure CRT is not only the only terminal, there are other Linux terminals also that provide an option to the developers to query the logs file, return the results, and take actions or take decisions on top of it. So the solution that we are, or the capability that we are talking about is that on a fly, performing redaction on any terminal, not only secure CRT, it can be any terminal. If a developer is accessing the logs and you don't want them to see the sensitive information or PII information, obviously we have a solution in place, and you can use our solution and you can directly do redaction on a fly. So what we are handling is logs, any kind of logs, accessing the logs through terminal, any kind of terminal. It could be secure CRT, it could be any other terminal. We have a solution in place, and you can use our solution to redact the sensitive and PII information to become compliant.
Great. Anything you want to add, Lee, Pradeep, as a
No,
concluding
I
remark
think
from your side?
I think Pradeep covered it great. I mean, I'll just add one thing. We're implementing for a very large healthcare company the PHI logs that they are creating every day, and we're doing that on the fly for them.
Great.
Right, right. So, and this on a fly, what we are trying to do is like it's a scalable solution. So not only so your logs can't be like in KBs or in MBs, it can be in GBs as well. So the idea here is when you are performing a search on like 1 GB of data or 2 GB of data or 5 GB of data, the logs data that I'm talking about, and you are returning the results. Now, the results could be, it could be like 1 page, 2 page, or 20 pages. So performing redaction real time without knowing the returned results, that's the capability that we have, and we can process it on a fly. Okay, because when you return the results, which is of 2 lines, 3 lines, 5 lines, or 20 lines, you can do it on a fly. But when the returned result is 20 pages, 30 pages, etc., there is a latency typically organizations see when they implement any kind of a real-time redaction. What we are doing is on a fly, and it's a scalable solution, and it happens within seconds, within milliseconds. We are able to redact the information irrespective of the size of the returned data on the terminal.
Great. Great insight, Pradipta and Lee. Thank you. So we are a data privacy, compliance, and synthetic fraud prevention company. If you know 2023 trend and the data breaches happen, cybersecurity and data privacy are the critical for every business, to protect their digital assets. Let's say cybersecurity protects data from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, disruption, modification, or destruction, where data privacy is the first line of defense to protect the PII and PHI data elements or individuals at source. And the complexity of numerous non-standardized data privacy laws makes compliance overwhelming. If you see only 2023 report, data privacy is a global challenge and companies around the globe are getting fined frequently. 2023 fines accumulated to over 25 billion US dollar, putting significant financial pressure on large to medium-sized companies. At Data Safeguard, we help eliminate regulatory fines, prevents fraud losses, protects PII, PHI, sensitive, non-sensitive data elements at source, and builds up the consumer confidence. There are several products we have, and ID Redact we talk about, SecureCRT you talk about, and yeah, so please reach out to us. We are also looking for a partner who can resell, co-sell our products to their enterprise customer. With this, we will end this session. Thank you, Lee and Pratipta, for your insightful session on SecureCRT, and you touch upon the PII ID Redact, our flagship product. And we'll come back with another session with another topic on data privacy sometime next week. Till then, take care and
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Damo,
Thanks, everyone.
for having us.
Thank you all.